Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? It's like, here we go again.
We are Saints in the South, your source for gospel growth and good times. All right, everyone, welcome back.
We're here. Are you?
We've already discussed that. They're not here, but they're here in spirit, right?
All right, that's right.
Episode 120. We are in Numbers chapters 11 through 14 and 20 through 24. Mm-hmm. The title is Rebel Not Ye Against the Lord, Neither Fear. So we are doing a lot of skipping of chapters.
Yes.
Now, in order, and I guess you got to do that in order to get through the Old
Yeah,
Testament,
you got to get through it, man. It's
so
like
much there. It's dense.
Yeah.
It's like a dense jungle of scripture.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and just start out with the very beginning of "Come Follow Me" from the manual. I love the opening statement. It says, "Even on foot, it wouldn't normally take 40 years to travel through the wilderness of Sinai to the promised land of Canaan, but that's how long the children of Israel needed." Not to cover the geographical distance, but to cover the spiritual distance, the distance between who they were and who the Lord needed them to become as His covenant people.
Yeah, I've never put that together.
Right.
I never, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, and I'm thinking, never really thought about it. I mean, but then you go, wait, in relation, and believe me, you've got to be what is it called? A topographist or whatever? What are those people called? Topography, people that know maps and
cartographer.
Yeah,
maybe?
Cartographer. Somebody that knows maps and to know where these people are, because it is. I mean, there's just there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
but it would not take that long to go anywhere in the world.
No.
I mean, obviously, but you just don't ever put that correlation together.
No,
and it's
they
like,
wandered around in circles.
Like literally, where they were to where they wanted to be was not very far at all. I mean,
wasn't there really 20 miles or something?
It was
really
crazy.
Short, if they went in a straight line, it would have been no time.
Right.
But yeah.
And the thing is, they're going through all these places. Yeah. I mean, could you imagine a mass? Well, we've seen it today. The mass exoduses that come up from Honduras and Guatemala and all these that are coming up towards Mexico and United States, the border moving up and
covering massive distances.
And the thing is, it is alarming, and I can understand these people of territory see this massive amount of people coming. They're like, what's going on? Who are these people? What's happening? Are you attacking us? What's going on? So there was conflict and things, but that was that was a long 40 years, I can guarantee you. I would
love to be able to kind of have a bird's eye view and watch the little dotted line.
Yeah.
Where's it at? Circles. It's
I know we've been here before.
Yeah,
I know we've come through this place before.
Basically, the Lord
is familiar.
Basically, the Lord's letting them circle for a while. I mean, that's a good point. I guess I hadn't thought about that. Maybe the Lord does allow us to circle. Right. If we're not getting where we need to be, He's going to allow us to circle a little bit. He's going to give us a miracle or two along the way and help us.
Right.
Yeah. But
here's in thinking about that, something that I kind of paralleled to our life. You've got your you're born, toddler years, adolescence, youth and everything. Then you get into your 20s and you're figuring out adult life and so forth. And then you get to your 30s, and that's when you really starting to, hopefully are trying to figure some things out, right? And if you think,
or sometimes, like in my case, you're in your 40s and you're still trying to figure out being an adult.
I think we're all in that same that same area.
But if you think about the average lifespan, right? What is it? 72, 75, somewhere 70 something years.
70 to 80. It's getting higher.
It's getting
now.
higher.
It is getting higher. But you hit that 30, 35 range, and then about 40 years, you hitting that 75, 80 years and stuff. Yeah. So, we've I just kind of correlated that because I definitely I know that there's still a distance between who I am now and who the Lord needs me to become.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point. It's a good.
And something else that's just popped in my head too. This is cool that even though they weren't making, how the Come Follow Me lesson talks about, they weren't making the physical progress, they were making the spiritual progress. And a lot of times I think we could be like that in our own lives. We might be frustrated, we might be feeling like Lord, why haven't I got that promotion at work yet? Lord, why haven't I been able to do this thing yet? Why haven't I been able to buy the house that I need for my family or whatever it is? And we might be feeling like we're stuck, but in the meantime, we might be like the Israelites. We might be spiritually growing. You know, the Lord's allowing us to tread water,
That's right.
Sit on that treadmill for a little while in life. We might be frustrated, but as long as we're in His will, we're going to be growing. We could be growing in ways that we're not even aware of until we look back and say, wow, that was, I didn't think I was making any progress during that time in my life, but now looking in hindsight.
Yeah. And the miracles that happened. I mean, they obviously this is going to be in the next lesson, I think, about remembering and things, but I mean, we'll look, it's hard to see in the middle of it when you're in the midst of things going on. It's hard to see the wonderful, miraculous things that were happening with the manna that they were eating every day, and just all these things there. But we can't really point the finger at these guys. I mean, we do the same thing.
Yeah,
and so we there's so many great parallels here that we have to take into consideration and apply to our lives. We are the children of Israel. I mean, in a lot of ways, and so
yeah, it's easy to say, man, how could they?
Yeah, I mean,
how could they see all these miracles and still be so stupid?
The pillar
man,
of
what's
fire.
wrong with these people? But I mean,
yeah,
how many of us we see everyday miracles in our own lives?
That's
we
what
see
I'm saying.
awesome. We see the God's working in our own lives, and we're still like,
exactly,
what's going on here?
And that's the thing. I think that's what Moses gets frustrated with.
Yeah.
With the people. They continually forget or take for granted the blessings that they've been given. For example, the manna.
Yeah.
The manna that they're
That's
eating and eventually get tired of.
yeah, they get tired of it.
Do y'all know the Hebrew translation of manna?
What?
Manna?
It's the funniest thing.
What
For the
is
word, it's what is this?
No,
I'm dead serious. I read that in the Old
so
Testament.
That's great.
so they compare it to bread, or they say bread.
So,
But is it,
that's what the Lord calls it. This is bread, right? And
they're like,
Celestial bread. I mean,
Celestial
whatever
bread.
that.
That's right. But I thought that was the funniest thing when I read that. What is this?
That's
Like,
because that's
what
what.
is this?
Yeah, well, that's what. Hey, no, it was at first. It was, what is this? Wow,
Right,
and then
right,
it turned
yeah.
into like, what is
What
this?
is
What is this?
This is terrible.
That's what it had
Yeah.
become. That's right.
That's
Absolutely.
really that's what had. Yeah, exactly.
It's like a kangaroo. I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but actually in the Aboriginal language, kangaroo means like, I don't understand what you're saying, because supposedly like Europeans came and they were like pointing to this animal, like, what is this animal? And they were like, what are you saying? Or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, or something
And so
weird.
they
like
named it that. They're
And
like,
so
"Oh,
they
yeah,
named
that's
it that
it."
kangaroo,
Yeah, kangaroo. I mean, it was asking a question. It's like, but they didn't even realize it.
So Moses in verses 14 and 15 of chapter 11 of Numbers, he says, I'm not able to bear all this people alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of hand, if I have found favor in thy sight, and let me not see my wretchedness. That,
Gosh, man,
again,
that's hardcore.
Moses continues to impress me. He's real. He's authentic. He's like, kill me now if this is how it's going to be.
That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
He's like, immediately. Out of hand means immediately. Like,
Yeah.
kill me now.
Yeah.
Like, just take me out if I've got to deal with this right now.
Too much.
Yeah. And so that's what's going on. So, and we got the thing, of course, the manna was, they were tired of that.
Yeah.
This is another big deal for Moses. And so here's what's so frustrating for Moses. He has such a clear 20/20 vision, perception, eternal perspective of things. He understands exactly what needs to happen. He's getting daily instruction from the Lord, whatever. And so it's super frustrating. It's the same thing with a parent with children, right? It really is. This is a parent-child relationship. Because we as parents, we know, we've been there. We know what we need to do, what needs to happen, what is important. And that's Moses, right? And then the children of Israel are just like, oh, it's me. I don't want this anymore. And he's just sitting there going, you guys are just focused in the wrong direction. What are you doing? What are you saying? This is crazy. And so he does get frustrated sometimes. You can hear the frustration in the things he says, like, kill me now if I got to deal with this again.
That's right.
And later on we find out about when he, hits the rock and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, and that. But anyway, they're having a time. So he does send some meat for him, right?
Oh yeah. That's my favorite verse. I think verse 20. Yeah. Oh yeah, 19 and 20. Yeah, so you shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it come out of your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have displeased the Lord which is among you, or despised the Lord rather, which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? So he's like, okay, you want meat, you're going to have meat.
Right.
You better be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Be careful what you ask for. So the Lord's like, all right, you want meat? Like, what was that? Marcus said he's the original.
Well, I mean, it's basically the Lord brought Arby's to him.
That's
right.
right.
I mean,
Lord brought
like,
Arby's.
Yeah, we have the meats. Don't worry about it. We got it right here. This is not sponsored by Arby's, by the way. But
and there's this winded quail comes, and there's just like, and it's like a day's journey in all directions.
Yeah,
it's like 2 cubits deep or something.
Yeah, they're
it's
like wading through quail.
Yes,
I mean,
I'm like, imagine. I'm trying to picture this in my head, like billions and billions and billions just quail like piled up. Like
the Lord's like, you want to get tired of something?
Yeah,
I'll show you what getting tired of something is. You know what I'm saying? And it's also like it's almost as if they were calling for a lesser meal or something. I mean, manna coming from heaven, right? And then quail would be more, it's what's on the earth at that time. So almost a different, you want a lower quality, basically food, and here you go. So I feel like that's what was happening. The Lord's like,
but it's meat.
Yeah.
So the grass is always greener on the other side.
Right.
It's like we're always
exactly.
like we always what we don't have. You know,
Exactly.
even if they're literally, the Lord has given them this weird magical bread from heaven that they're able to sustain themselves every day. But they're like, no, we're tired of this. We want some meat. You know, like he's like, really? So here you go.
Why couldn't they have just said, Lord, help this manna taste like some good old meat?
That's right.
I mean, maybe that would have been okay. I don't know.
Maybe.
there was Glenn Beck on his live on his show. He taste tested a vegetarian steak.
Oh yeah.
And, I mean, it looked just like steak and everything, but he said. He said if you are a vegetarian, this is good. He says if you're a meat eater, this is not good.
It's not a steak.
That's right. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a steak. But I've got a bishop experience to share with you.
All right.
Kind of based on what Moses is going through here. And I really, again, reading that, I really felt his frustration.
I imagine if you served as a bishop, you probably relate to him sometimes, right?
Right, exactly. So,
I feel you, Moses.
So, I mean, he's feeling the burden, the heaviness, right? Again, I mean, we're dealing with a couple million people as they've talked about. So, I had an experience one time, and this is kind of early on in my service, but had an individual that he became a very, very heavy burden. Met with him, countless times in the office. He would show up front door many times, wanting to talk, wanting to vent out his frustrations and everything, and he actually became quite threatening and everything, and it was something.
I know who you're talking about too. He
I
became our problem too eventually.
Right, that's right.
Went over into the other ward.
That's right. So and me and my counselors, we constantly praying about the best course of action, and we were helping this individual and so forth. And finally, I mean, it became where I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so going to the stake president, me and my counselors, we drove and met with the stake presidency, and just really kind of talked about. And I remember kind of breaking down in that meeting, and was like, I said, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end of what to do. Yeah. And it really felt too heavy to bear. And long story short, church legal ended up getting involved, and that was my first introduction of issuing a persona non grata I'd never heard of that before, but where they are no longer welcome, and that was a heavy burden as well. You know, having to be involved in that and issue with that and everything and stuff. So it was. I thought a lot about that and some of the other things that that I'd experienced. And
this is what I got to deal with. Kill me now.
That's what I was about to say. Did you ever pray?
That's where
God,
you were.
Just kill me now.
I actually never got to that.
No, right.
Kill me now.
Right.
Quite to that.
But anyway, Moses.
Actually, it was more like, if this is what I got to deal with, release me now.
Release me now.
It was more like, release me now.
Absolutely. That's and you definitely feel that way.
And see that, and so it makes sense.
Yep.
Moses, the only way he could be released was to be dead.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's basically what Moses was saying. Release me now, Lord. Well, that means I got to die. So right. Just whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. So he does get 70 men.
That's right.
To help. Yes. This is basically, it's sort of the way I understand it, sort of the birth of the 70, basically, and how that kind of works, and how we have the 70 today that basically helps with the burden of the first presidency and the quorum of the 12. They go out and they basically represent the quorum of the 12 and the first presidency throughout the world. They're actually, I always hate saying this because everybody's ground workers. Everybody gets down and goes, but they're sort of the ones that are spread out over the world, so that obviously 2 or 3 guys doesn't have to go everywhere all the time, even though President Nelson does go a lot. But so the 70 get in there to help out, and that had to be a big relief for Moses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, this was in the New Testament also, wasn't there the 70 in the New Testament? I can't remember where was that.
Yes, they called 7 men. It was 7 men. Basically, the way that I understood it, to be sort of like how you'd have the presidency of the 70 today. You have the 7 presidents. Am I right, or is it more than that now? Because they have so many quorums.
I think it's still 7.
Is it still 7? I think you're right. Yeah, 7. But anyway, but in the New Testament, it was that. It was to take care of the widows and things like that, going out and helping. That's basically same thing.
So this is something that started at the time of Moses. And
honestly, it probably happened in the times of Adam. I mean, I mean, we just don't have it written.
Might not have record of it.
Because the gospel's always been the gospel. Obviously, as the gospel's progressed, it has changed. Things have changed to accommodate large capacity and things like that, which in this case it's needed, because you do have 2 or 3 million people there that you got to work with. So, yeah.
And I think, and this is, unless y'all want to say anything else about that, this is the beginning of where Miriam,
yes, Moses' sister,
gets a little jealous. She'd already kind of been declared, I say kind of a prophetess.
Yeah, and she had prophesied, and she had done things that the Lord allowed her to do, and as far as revelation, and like I was saying earlier, I think before we started recording, I think it was more akin to like how you see the general authority women of the church, the general officer women of the church today. Yeah. That, and I think that she was a very high up leader of these people. Obviously, she probably helped coordinate. I mean, let's just be honest, she's a woman, so she probably organized most things.
That's right.
She's the first General Relief Society president.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, really, and so yeah, she was a big, an awesome presence in this whole journey, this whole Exodus thing, and she was a loud revelation, and she did prophesy, and she did do things that were important, and but the thing is, she then wanted, she started aspiring to the salt for the calling of Moses, wanted to be
seeing the power, seeking for the
power. She wanted to be that,
be in charge,
and be in charge, and be the prophet, and things like that, and she did things like that, and wasn't a good thing.
Yeah, and she brought Aaron kind of along for the ride, And
it's hurting, man. It's hurting Aaron's reputation
I know,
here.
Man,
Come on, Aaron.
Yeah, he keeps falling short.
I mean, believe me, I know he got it together.
Right.
He's a great. If I see Aaron when I die, I'm in a good place.
So
I know that.
Yeah, so I've watched some documentaries and everything on the different empires, Roman empires, and so forth, and they are constantly, family going after each other, trying to get to that throne,
the position of power. Yeah.
That's right, exactly. And that's really is exactly what's happening here. You reference the Doctrine and Covenants, section 121, when it talks about those that seek after power. There's those seeking after power and remaining righteous.
Yeah.
they don't.
No, you can't.
They
Yeah.
don't coincide. Now you can
Exactly what I was
you
just
can
thinking
be
of.
righteous and have power,
Yes.
Right.
But the righteousness has to become before the power.
The power, right.
Yeah, I mean, seeking after it,
And then not
Yeah,
allow
yeah.
that power to supersede that righteousness.
Yeah, you
because
think
that can happen
Moses?
too.
Moses never
He
never
Never
wanted
wanted
it.
it, never sought for it
wanted
or
it.
anything.
Yeah, like
That's
even
right.
from the very beginning, he was like, "Lord, no, not I'm not your guy."
and even
Right.
now he's
Like-
saying, "Kill me now."
Yeah, even now
Really?
he's like, so he never wanted this, but he was like, Lord was like, you're the guy, Moses.
Right.
You're the guy I need.
Right.
And Moses is like, I mean, I don't really want to, but I mean, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it.
Right.
So
So did you see how or what they used to go after Moses to try and bring him down?
No. What do you
According
mean?
to the writings of Josephus, right? Josephus is with the Dead Sea Scrolls, right?
yes,
Okay.
Oh.
yes. Hold on, I think
You got it?
I think.
All
Where
right.
I'm going. I'm trying to remember.
Give
I
me your
remember-
best shot.
I can't. No, I remember something about Josephus. I remember there was something that Brother Fulmer, Scripture Gems, was talking about Josephus, but I cannot remember the thing.
In Josephus' writings, Moses he was a general in the Egyptian army,
Okay.
and they were fighting against the Ethiopian people.
Okay.
Well, to
Yeah,
help
the
bring a
Cush-
treaty and
yeah, the
and a
Cush
peace,
Empire.
that's right. He married an Ethiopian woman, and so Miriam and Aaron are now.
Oh, yeah, going after him about that.
bringing that up.
Yeah.
Something from
About
the
the-
past.
yeah.
Trying to use it against him.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
To
Little-
bring
Yeah.
him down.
Yeah.
And accuse him of marrying outside of the covenant people.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
So anyway, it's just
Making a big deal about that.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Yep. But I think we can relate this a lot, really, to today, and we see it more and more. People undermining the prophet.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
President Nelson with decisions that he makes, policy changes,
And they're looking for
COVID decisions.
Yeah.
and
They're looking at all that stuff.
Yep, exactly.
You know, the parents, if the same sex parents or whatever wouldn't, the children couldn't be able till they're 18, couldn't be baptized till they're 18. Well, they reversed it. Of course, that was even wrong. But both sides they argued. One's like, how can you do that? Make this child wait till they're 18 to get their covenants, or whatever. And then when they reversed it a year or two later, however long it was. Then everybody was, oh, you're changing up. You're not a prophet. You just do whatever So it's like,
with the whims
Yeah.
of the
come
world,
on,
that's right.
guys.
It's just just like with Moses, man.
you
These
can't
people are going to
win.
grumble. The people
right.
are going to grumble.
They're going to
Just-
grumble.
yeah.
So
There's nothing new under the sun, right?
And that's made me think about, I wonder how President Nelson feels.
Oh, yeah.
Or any other current day prophet, being in the position that he is,
Yeah.
and hearing the people complain one way or another, and that's I wonder how.
yeah,
You know,
I would assume.
how much of a
I
burden
know
he
for
feels.
myself, if I was in that position, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to see all the negativity,
Right.
but I'm sure it creeps in.
Yeah,
I guarantee it does. It has to, and but he's handling it very well. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always seems to have a very positive attitude, man. He's like, it doesn't seem to get him down. He doesn't show it if it does.
When he sits on the edge of his seat every time, he's ready to go.
In private, he might be like, Lord, just kill me now if I have to deal with this.
Lord,
But
I'm good to go now. Anytime.
when he's in public,
Right.
he's like, man, he's very
I don't know-
positive, very loving.
I will
He's
say,
just
I
like-
don't think he's asking the Lord to take him out, because every time you hear, he's like, I'm excited to see what the day brings. And it's just like, good
Yeah.
grief, man. Come on. He's going, man. He's wide open. And
Yes.
Well,
He's going to be 1120 years old, still
I can-
running around,
I can tell you this. I guarantee.
hopping up out of his chair at
He
General
will.
Conference.
Yeah, he'll be raring to go. But I don't think, get in a room with him one-on-one and see if you argue with him. I don't think you would. I mean, there's just no way. That man exudes so much of the presence of the Lord. Every time I see him, when he opens up conference, when he stands
Yeah.
up there, it's such a blessing. I'm so, and all that, and you're just like, you're from the Lord. I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, anyway.
Well, I thought about the spiritual leprosy that we can catch.
Yeah.
Miriam,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Miriam
you
was
got.
cursed with the leprosy for 7 days and shut out and everything. We don't get leprosy from from disagreeing with the Lord, but spiritually, Spiritually, we can for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think we've got to guard against that even more and more these days, because we have so much more access to the influence of everybody, especially if you're on social media and seeing what they're saying, and you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense, So
and that leprosy that it talks about here. The word leprosy wasn't like today we think of leprosy as a specific disease, but really leprosy was kind of more of a catch-all term at the time. Gotcha. So when they were talking about, this here wasn't actual, like from the way it described the
rotting
turning
flesh.
White. This wasn't necessarily actual leprosy, because they were talking about leprosy referring to all kinds of things. So it's basically just like, when you're talking about something's bad, if somebody's just rotten, it's just leprosy, because that was probably the worst thing that they could imagine at the time, because it was a horrible thing.
Shunned for a while.
So that was the leprosy, maybe her being shunned for 7 days and set out, and they couldn't travel until she was done. Her penance was done. So forth. So,
but I like what Moses said, because they come to him and they want to. There's these 70 men, right? They're going around, they're prophesying, they're doing things, and but anyway, come to find out, there's a couple of guys. They come to him and say, it says, in Joshua the son. This is in verse 28 of 11. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men, answered. Basically, they were saying 2 men in the camp. One was Eldad and one was Medad. I don't know how to say these names. Eldad, Medad. I don't know. And the Spirit rested upon them, and they were out there, but they weren't. What does it say? But went not into the tabernacle, and they prophesied in the camp. And anyway, somebody come and told on them. But basically, and Moses says this. He says, and Moses said unto him, enviest thou for my sake? Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put His Spirit upon them. So basically, he's basically saying, are you telling me that because you think I'm going to be jealous? Like, he's basically saying, I wish everybody could prophesy, and if we were on that level, we wouldn't have any problems. It's like, it's fine. They're not doing anything wrong. This is good stuff. It's righteous. And I love this because as we were talking about the power and all that kind of stuff and not letting it, it says, not only was he not threatened by this remarkable sharing of his spiritual power, but he expressed the desire to have every single Israelite share the same power with him. Mm-hmm. So basically, he was so humble. Like Moses he wasn't about like, I want all this power for me and I don't want anybody, he was like, hey, I'd be absolutely grateful. I mean, he probably would have loved for Miriam to take over. And if the Lord willed it, he'd been like, here you go. I'm not going to fight you for it. But I mean, obviously it wasn't meant to be that way, but so, I mean, Moses was very, very humble. He was not.
Yeah. I liken it to President Nelson's instructions today about being so close to the Spirit and being able to follow the Spirit. That's kind of what I liken it to. And him, President Nelson knows that he can't be involved one-on-one with all of our lives.
Right.
And so if he could, he would, and he would, direct us and guide us, but he can't. And so that's why it's so important to be able to have access to the same revelation that he does.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. At least for ourselves and our families, we should have that. And this too reminded me of the story in the New Testament when Christ's disciples came to him and they were talking about these guys over here. They're casting out demons in your name and stuff. We got to stop them because you haven't ordained them or whatever. Jesus, like, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Like if they're doing, if they're righteous, if they're being righteous, if they're doing good things, then you just
they're casting out evil.
Guys.
Leave them alone.
Casting out demons. Leave them alone. Yeah,
leave them alone.
So there's this. So the recurring theme. This is for thousands and thousands of years, where people want to protect their kind of little inner circle sometimes and get scared a little bit when there's these people over here are trying to do good things too. Like they're doing good things. Calm down.
Right. Everything's fine.
Let them be. If people are doing good things, just let them be.
That's right.
I think it's a good lesson.
So Miriam's problem wasn't that she wanted to have the spiritual gifts of Moses. She already had a lot of those. Yeah. It was that she wanted to take his priesthood office. That's right. That's what she really wanted to do. And that was the problem.
That position, that power.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. All right. So then on chapter 20, moving right along. So this is a chapter where Miriam dies. Moses smites the rock. So this was an interesting story too to me, where the Lord commands Moses very specifically. Here's what you do: you're going to take your staff and you're going to go to the rock, because the people are like, we have no water.
Yeah.
Of course, they're grumbling again.
Right,
This is a recurring theme all through
It
years
is.
and years and years and years going by here. And people are grumbling. They're like, we have no water. We were in Egypt. There was lots of water. So. So then Moses goes to the Lord. He's like,
He makes a good Israelite.
Hey,
yeah.
that's
See,
really
that
good.
that was my murmuring. Did you
Right,
like that?
yeah.
That's my impression of murmuring
right.
there. Yeah, rah, 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 rah. So they're like, we need water. And, they're like, we don't even have water for our animals. What in the world? We're out here in the desert, Moses. Come on. So, of course, Moses goes and prays. And he's like, Lord, they kind of got a point here. We need water. And so he gives them very specific instructions. You go to this rock, you bring your staff and you speak to the rock, and the rock's going to bring forth water, and there's going to be water for everybody. So what does Moses do? He goes and he cracks the rock with his staff.
Yep.
So what's up with that? I mean, it's like, I do love Moses. Like he, as great as he was very, like you said, real. Like he was very human. He was very
He's
like
just tired of everything.
Yeah,
man.
he's
He
just
really
like
is.
y'all
He's
are.
like,
I mean,
he's like,
I'm
y'all
not
want
even-
water? Here you go.
I'm not
Verse-
going to take time to speak. I just
Verse 10, man, this is another frustration of Moses coming out. He says, and Moses, Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? It's like, here we go again. I mean,
He's so
you
frustrated,
got, oh
man.
man. And honestly, so what happened in that very moment was that Moses was punished in that very moment for he was not going to be able to lead he was not going to be able to carry or go into the promised land with the Israelites.
Yeah.
He shut himself off from going into that promised land with it because he said, we fetch you water out of this rock. In other words, he's saying, I'm doing it. That's
right.
Instead of giving all the credit to the Lord.
But something else is interesting though is that the water still came out of the rock.
Yeah, it did.
So the Lord did not withhold
Right.
the blessing from the people.
From the
Like,
people because
the
of
people
what?
still
Because of
received the
Moses'
blessing. Yes,
mistake.
because
Right.
the Lord had intended to give that blessing to the people to make sure they had the water.
Absolutely.
And Moses didn't go about it the right way, but that didn't negate the blessing for the people because that was but it did mess him up. The
Yes.
Lord was like, okay, you're still getting the water
In much the
but
same way as
you
blessing the
didn't do
sacrament.
what I told you to do.
Blessing the sacrament unworthily.
Yes,
That's
a good point.
Priesthood blessings
Priesthood
unworthily.
blessings.
Those blessings will
Baptism.
still work.
Yeah.
Because that person of their faith and that person's commitment and things, but you're doing damnation to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, when you do that
you're
type
not
of
harming
stuff.
anybody but yourself.
But yourself,
yeah, absolutely.
exactly.
That's a good point.
But yeah, that's basically and that's that's basically what happened there. He kind of done that. But anyway, and also, what else with the? I think Aaron. It sounds like Aaron's getting demoted here because Moses takes Aaron and Eleazar. Eleazar, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Eleazar up to the mount and basically takes the robes and the whole the garb, the whole priesthood garb or whatever you want to call it, the garments or whatever that they wear, and put them on Eleazar, his son Eleazar. And and it sounds like Moses is getting demoted, but what it was is Aaron was getting demoted, but Aaron was just getting old, and it was time to pass on that priesthood. And
it was interesting
that's what was
to me. Tell me what y'all thought about this, because the way it describes it, it's like, okay, the Lord told Moses, go up, you're going to take Aaron's garments off of him,
Right.
which are obviously symbolic of his mantle and, his priesthood authority at the time. You're going to put it on his son, Eleazar,
Right.
and then Aaron's going to die.
right.
And it literally happens in that way. And I don't know how much time passed, but
Yeah.
when I read it, it makes it sound like, okay, take the clothes off you, put them on you, and now he's dead. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
so I don't know.
Priesthood
It
didn't hold him up
if
no more.
time passed, or if literally, or if the Lord,
know.
if maybe Aaron was really, really old and the Lord was keeping him alive just as long as he needed him to fulfill, the role that he had for him. I don't know, because it really, the way it reads, it sounds like he died pretty quick. Like, this is just what happened.
It says, and Aaron died there in the top of the mount.
Yes, he didn't even get to come back down the mountain. It's
And
just
Moses
like
and
he
Eleazar
died.
came down from the mountain. So,
For real.
that was it. That was it, Aaron.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it happened pretty quick. But yeah, it was a passing on of the priesthood, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
priesthood continues, it has to be from one to the next to the next. So that's what was happening. A younger person coming in to take over the reins. So,
Well, very good. Well, that was a hop, skip, and a jump.
Man,
through
there's
numbers.
A lot of stuff, man.
A lot of stuff, and we didn't even get to the talking donkey, but that's
The talking donkey.
that's a whole nother conversation.
That's
man.
I will say this: when I thought of that, if you read into the Revelations of John about animals speaking and stuff, it's supposedly it's going to be a common thing. I mean, it's going to be like animals will be able to speak and praise their creator and things like that. How? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that means actually words like we talk, but it's just going to be commonplace whenever
That's
we get.
interesting. So I've in studying psychology and stuff, you're probably familiar with this, that I've if I remember correctly, so especially like dogs, like they have every aspect of a human brain except for the ability. They're missing the ability to talk, like to communicate.
Yeah.
And that's why they are so loyal and trainable.
Wow.
And everything the way they are, and the way they learn.
Yeah, dogs are really, really cool. That dogs, man, you can get me fired. This is cool stuff. So dogs are the only animal
I hit a button back
that since dogs have like co-evolved with humans for so long. There's something cool. I learned this when I took child psychology that I never knew this before. So there's a thing that people do. Like if you're in a room with somebody, like if we don't speak the same language, but if you are dying of thirst and you see my bottle of water and you want my water, if you look at this bottle of water and you look in my eyes and you go back and forth,
right? Yeah,
I understand what that means.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you want water? It's just most humans take that as a given. You know, like we the whites of our eyes, to communicate to others where our attention is. Dogs will do. There's no other animal that does that. The dogs have evolved the ability to look at something and to look at you in your eye and go back and forth, and that's actually really complex. Really a complicated thing. But it's like other animals don't do that. Like dogs have evolved this ability to to communicate with us in a nonverbal way that we take for granted. That we're like, oh yeah, but like other animals are like couldn't even begin to comprehend that. It's really interesting. And so the animals don't have the ability for language, but there's also one of the coolest videos I've ever seen. I want to plug one of my favorite YouTube channels, Vsauce. If you like cool science and stuff,
Vsauce, yeah.
Man, Michael Stevens Vsauce is the coolest thing ever. And there's he actually has there's a new series called Mind Field that he does, and there's a video called the Cognitive Trade-off Hypothesis, which I highly, if you're interested in language, on on the development of human language and how human language differs, like our brains differ from animals and being able to talk and communicate, watch the video about the cognitive trade-off hypothesis, Mind Field. It's cool stuff. So anyway, I know that's kind of
I was just thinking
side
of
road.
I was thinking of Jacob. I'm sure Jacob's probably been all over that.
Oh yeah.
He's a big language buff.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it is pretty cool. So yeah, animals, like you're saying, I guess they really don't. Their brains don't have the ability for language the same way that we do. But humans have the ability for language, and it's not just that we have the ability to learn language. It's innate. If you put a bunch of babies on an island and they will develop language, even if it's some kind of language. We have it. And there's certain things that all languages, linguists, all languages have certain things in common. That even though there's lots of other differences, like certain nouns and verbs. Every single language, human language on Earth, has nouns and verbs. There's words that describe a thing and words to describe an action, and so yeah. It's like that. That's a whole side,
which we do have animals
really,
that, you think of parrots and stuff that actually can articulate words, and so it's not
that far-fetched.
Outrageously far-fetched or strange, but
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, hey, before we get too sidetracked, y'all go check out that
Vsauce.
Vsauce. V like the letter V.
Vsauce.
Vsauce.
Very good. Maybe I'll put a link up here.
Do it. Yeah.
All righty. Until next
get your
time.
learning on. And then
until next time, y'all keep on striving.
Keep on Vsauce.